Alright, Shalom. It's your brother Kashab coming back at you another lesson. Now, before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, infinite honors unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Chak Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. And peace, blessings, and salutations be to the whole elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel, and may you endure to the end, Lord willing. All right. Now, I just want to get into another M.O.T.B episode, where, as you can see with the article, endtimeheadlines.org, it says biometric verification now mandatory for transaction involving the use of the Ghana card. According to a report from 3 News, Ghana's Interior Minister Muntaka Mohamed Mabarak has declared that biometric verification is now the only acceptable method for confirming identity with the Ghana card. The announcement follows the full enforcement of the National Identification Register Amendment regulations in 2026. Right? Now, real quick, because I looked this up, what is the Ghana card? All right. So it says the Ghana card is the mandatory national identity card issued by the Ghanaian authorities via the National Identification Authority to all citizens, as well as legally and permanently resident foreign nationals. It serves as universal proof. Let that sink in. It serves as universal proof of identity, citizenship, and residence. You see that? It says the key features and uses: biometric identification. The card uses fingerprints, iris scans, and facial dimensions to generate a permanently assigned PIN, which is a personal ID number. All right, mandatory usage. It says it is required for all financial transactions, opening bank accounts, SIM card registration, voter registration, and accessing public health care and educational services in Ghana. This is everything, off the bat. This is everything that, from the elder apostles on down to the youngest man, going into the M.O.T.B, all right, which goes, this is the grapho. This is the groundwork for the grapho, man. All right. It says travel document. This card also doubles as a ECOWAS identity card, which can be used by Ghanaian citizens for travel with the sub-region, right? So this card is basically your access to do everything within the city. Whether you got to go to the bank, the store, right? This is a precursor for the M.O.T.B, man. All right? That's exactly what this is. A precursor for the M.O.T.B. All right? This is what we call the grapho. All right? When you look up, there's pretty scarce information on it now. Right? But a couple years ago, when you would look up what the Y server was and linked it with the RFID micro C-HIP, when you linked everything up together, this is the type of information that would be on the Y server, man. All right, everything. It said right there, all financial transactions. Right, now let's go real quick. We'll come back to this because a couple words I want to get in there. All right, it's Revelation 13 and verse 16. So people telling you it's sin, it's a white woman, don't make any sense, man. It can only be one thing. All right, like I said, starting with the elder apostles on down to the youngest man, the great millstone, we've been telling you what it is. All right, but it takes for certain articles, right, for people to do certain things, like the information I'm bringing out here, all right, to show you. You see, for those that gotta see it to believe it. Yeah, that's over there in Ghana, right? But just wait until it starts in the U.S., man. They just made everybody, what was that, last year? Go get a real ID, man. You can't fly without a real ID, right? Which is it's putting a star on your license, right? Or whatnot. But you got to have a real ID, all right? And that's digital too. It's physical and digital, right? But just wait until they start putting all of your bank information on there, you know. And the real cause of that real ID is to, you know, for people to verify their identities, man. You know, because you got people out there with no driver's license, no ID, you know, that, you know, pretty much travel abroad and do different things. You know, you got all kind of foreign troops and stuff coming over, you know, to really understand and try to identify those people. These are the types of policies and the different types of things that these so-called politicians are implementing, man. All right. Now, this Revelation 13 and in verse 16, it says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. You see? So let's go into this word mark. All right. So I'm going to this word mark. All right. And I'm going to go into a couple of the root words, which goes into, I'm not going to get charagma, which I'm not going to read it. That's what I'm saying. I'm just going to the word grapho. All right, which charagma is the actual C-hip. All right. Going to the root word, which charax is the delivery system. Right. When you go into the word grapho, it says to write, with the reference to the form of the letters. You see, the letters on a tablet, parchment paper, or other material. You see, so they're going to put all of your information, or write all of your information on that other material, which goes into what? The charagma, man. All right. So that's why you're going to be able to use your palm and pay, tap pay, right? When they put that grain of rice in you, which is the RFID micro C-hip, when they put that inside of your hand, all right, or they put a BCI, which is a brain computer interface, inside of your head, all right, you're going to be able to just smile and wave, all right, tap and pay and go. You see? And all of these things go back into what? Them controlling all your financials. All right, now let me go back, because it says the card uses fingerprints, iris scans, and facial dimensions. All right, so that's the whole thing. What iPhone came out with the you just scan your face and unlock your phone. You see, so your data, all of your retina, right, your facial dimensions are already on a server, already in the system. You see, so there's gonna get to a point in time for those who have the M.O.T.B. that they can just, you know, scan their faces, man. You know, wave their hand, wave with the grain of rice in their hand. You see. But when you go even further, it tells you the mandatory uses for it right now. Right? It is required for all financial transactions, opening bank accounts, voter registration, accessing public health care and educational services. Right? To live a regular life in America, you're going to need some type of C-hip, all right? Some type of, as they call it, this one, the Ghana card, all right? And, you know, a lot of the, you know, people, it goes over people's head. It's saying national and universal, right? So why are they using something national for one country? Why are they using something universal if it's just going to be for one country? You see? So you have to think and understand what's really going on. You have to see the bigger picture, man. All right? Now, let's go back to the article, which says, speaking to the media in Accra on Wednesday, July 2nd, the minister said that the new rules are meant to protect the integrity of the national ID system and shield citizens' personal data from fraud and misuse. You see? And, you know, as the saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. And then at this point, it ain't even a crisis. It's just what we finna do, basically, right? In the name of protecting the citizens, man. You know? In the name of integrity. oh, before it gets any worse, oh, before it happens, we're going to institute this, you know, so the AI doesn't go rogue. There's all kind of, theatrics and games they're going to play, Oh, so you can keep track of your children because over 1 billion children going missing every year. You see? It says, what's that, LI? Whatever. Basically, the bill was signed on March 2nd, 2026. All right. Took effect on June 9th after parliamentary approval. It amends the earlier identity registry regulations. All right. And this is the quotes. It says the regulation makes biometric verification of the Ghana card the mandated standard. You see? Mandated, right? And if this is just a card that's going to be mandated, you know good and well that the M.O.T.B is going to be mandated, man. All right? You know that. You see? But we keep reading. It says confirming the mandated standard for confirming a person's identity and retires the practice of merely inspecting, photocopying, or scanning a card as an acceptable method of verification, which ain't nothing wrong with that. That's always worked for years, you see? But it's the forwarding, all right, of a new system being installed, you see? It says for years, banks, telecom companies, hospitals, schools, and other institutions accepted visual checks or photocopies of the card, right? Like I said, that's been going on for decades, man, right? But we're seeing a paradigm shift to what? Merging man and beast, all right? So like emerging man with technology, all right? It says officials now describe that approach as dangerously weak. You see? Dangerously weak. In the name of scamming, because you got a physical card that you carry in your wallet, that's weak or that's not good enough, Well, everything has to go digital, man. You see? It says a photocopy can be altered, scanned image can be misused without the owner's knowledge, and a visual inspection alone cannot confirm that the person presenting the card is its rightful owner. You see? In which these things are going to happen. But they say, oh, if we do it digitally, well, nobody can take it, right? If we put this micro C-hip or this microchip inside of you, well, we don't ever have to worry about altering somebody stealing your identity, right? Somebody scamming you, all right? Or it being misused, you see? It says, under the new framework, any organization carrying out transactions covered by the regulations must authenticate identity through biometric matching against the National ID Register by using NIA-approved match-on-card devices. All right, institutions are strictly forbidden from requesting, keeping, or relying on photocopies, scans, or images of the Ghana card. Unapproved biometric methods are also banned. You see, in which there's more, and you can read a couple more paragraphs more. All right, but that's the point, man. All right, to show you that the old system is going away and they're coming in with the new. All right, let me bring this other precept out real quick. 2 Corinthians. Oh, my mind just went blank. Oh man, it's 11 and 2. 2 and 11. I hate when that happened, bro. Yep, 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, man. All right, and this whole scheme, all right, you said in the NLT, it says it's evil schemes, right? All of these schemes and these different things, going on with the NW0 and them installing, all right, the micro C-hips and, making it mandatory for everybody. All of these things are, Satan's devices, man. That's his evil schemes. That's his plan, But we know, according to Job, that, his devices are going to be disappointed, man. All right, and that his hands now going to perform his enterprises, roughly paraphrasing, But hey, that don't mean he not gonna try. You see? So this thing that you see in Ghana, all right, is closely approaching these other states, these other countries, man. You know, and these people are miles ahead. You know, especially you can see what they're doing in England, right, and all these other different places. The only reason why America is always last is because of the right to bear arms here, all right? And they know it's going to be a total uproar to people, you know, when they try to install and do these different things, you know? So this is Revelation chapter 3. It's a few words I want to get from verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. All right, now let's get this word hour. We're going to get this word temptation. All right. So the word hour is G5610. It says a certain definite time or fixed, a season fixed by natural law and returning with a revolving year. You see? It says the daytime, bounded by the rising and setting of the sun, a day. All right. So when it says to keep you from the hour of temptation, well, the Lord is speaking about keeping us, you know, during a season that people are going to, you know, be tried, tested. All right. That people are going to be enticed, you know, to take the M.O.T.B, man. You see? And it's going to last for a definite time. All right. Or a season. You see, it says in the 8 definitions of seasons of the year, right? Whether it be, you know, 3 months, 6 months, you know, whatever. It's a season to show you that, you know, that it won't be very long, right? It won't take very long for them to make this thing mandatory and for them to push it upon the people. It's only going to last for a season, man. You see? But it's tell you what, because thou has kept the word of our patience, where the Lord is going to keep us, you know, during that season where we be tried, you know, during our fine hour. All right. Now this is the word temptation. All right. G3986. Parosmos. Right. Which it says an experiment, an attempt, a trial, proving. You see? So this word temptation just goes into the trial period. All right. The trial, all right, the experiment, right, was, but you know, basically that M.O.T.B, just like the 2020 thing was with the JAB, all right, the jab, it was just an experiment, man. You see? So the M.O.T.B is going to be what? Another experiment, right? And they're going to test you, all right? It says further, it says in the 8th definition, trial proving, the trial made of you by my bodily conditions. His conditions served as a test of love. Galatians toward Paul, it says, this is the point I wanted to get to. It says a trial of a man's fidelity, right? Which we know that word fidelity goes into what? Your faith, you see? So it's going to be a trial of your faith, man. During this whole, you know, Jacob trouble, right? All of these different things that's getting ready to happen, it's going to be a trial of our faith, man, right? Integrity, virtue, and constancy, you know, and what side are you going to fall on, man? You know, Lord willing, I don't want to write this out. You know, we be fall on that righteous side, you know, but it has to be of the Lord, you see, because thou hast kept the word of thy patience, I will also keep thee, you see. So, you know, Lord will, we be those ones that be kept. Right, going down further, it says an enticement to sin. You see that? So taking the M.O.T.B is going to be an enticement to sin, because when you prick yourself, you know, when this thing is put inside of the skin, all right, that's a sin, according to what? Leviticus 26 and 19, I believe, you know. You can also go into Sirach, the 27th chapter, you know. It says, whether arising from the desires or from the outward circumstances. And, you know, the outward circumstances is going to be real bad, man. You know, it's going to be a total chaos, which is when they're going to implement it during times like never before, right? It says an internal temptation to sin, right? We'll jump down a little bit. It says of the condition of things or a mental state by which we are enticed to sin or to a lapse from the faith and holiness, you see? And that's what it's going to be a try. It's going to be a hard test for brothers, man. You know, Lord willing, we pass it with flying colors, right? It says adversity, affliction, or trouble sent by the Most High, serving to test or prove one's character. You see, that's going to be the chance we have to prove our character. And we do it now, you know, with the hell and the temptations and, you know, the different afflictions that we go through. All right. But how much more in that day? You know, it says the temptation, i.e. trial of the Most High by men. All right. And that's pretty much the point, you know. But hey, man, that's what it's going to be, you know. So, you know, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, man. So, you know, with that, give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rachak Kodash, and